Hi, glad to see you on my channel. Support the channel by giving likes, subscribing, and leaving comments. It's not hard for you and it motivates me to create new videos. Enjoy watching and immerse yourself in these unique stories that capture the beautiful moments of life. Student life always seemed special to me. Lectures, seminars, endless notes, it all became a familiar ritual. It was not only gaining knowledge, but also living in a world full of possibilities and discoveries. But I spent the most time in the library of our institute. Quiet halls filled with hundreds of books, the soothing rustle of turning pages, and a special atmosphere of peace attracted me like a magnet. I felt like I was entering a sanctuary where time stood still. Margaret Lynn was the head librarian. She was a stately woman of good character who always maintained a sense of dignity. Margaret was about 45 years old, but she looked much younger. Her radiant complexion and lively eyes defied age. Her movements were graceful and her voice was melodious and quiet, enveloping each word with a soft melody. We first met when I was looking for a rare book on philosophy. She guided me in my search, and somehow a conversation began unnoticed. From then on, I became a frequent visitor to her small study, a cozy corner tucked away from the noisy main hall where we could talk for hours about literature, art, and life. Margaret proved to be a terrific conversationalist. She had traveled extensively in her youth, knew several languages, and had a terrific sense of humor that always lifted my spirits. Gradually, she began to share personal stories with me about her divorce, the difficulties of starting a new life, and her daughter who lived in another city. There was a vulnerability and strength in her words that made her seem even more charming. Her openness created an extraordinary bond between us. I couldn't help but admire her resilience and depth of character. Unlike her teachers or peers, she possessed an aura of wisdom and magnetism that set her apart. By early March, the sun was warming up like summer, and the first flowers were blooming in the park near the institute, filling the air with a sweet fragrance. Inspired by this time of year, I decided to surprise Margarita on her birthday. I bought a huge bouquet of white roses, her favorite flowers, and a bottle of fine wine, imagining how her face would light up at the gesture. That evening she looked especially beautiful, almost ethereal. The dress she wore emphasized her graceful figure, and the deep neckline in the back gave her look a daring elegance. Her hair, usually styled in a tight bun, fell in soft waves over her shoulders. She looked completely transformed, not only as a librarian, but as a woman whose presence could easily attract attention. I couldn't take my eyes off her. We were seated in her office in the closed library. The dim light of the table lamp created a warm glow, and the quiet music from the old receiver gave a nostalgic charm. The wine was indeed excellent, its richness matching the setting. Our conversation flowed easily and casually, as if we had known each other for ages. We laughed at some stories, shared anecdotes, and recalled funny incidents that happened in the past. Gradually, the atmosphere became more and more intimate. Our gazes met more and more often, each time lingering a little longer, and the pauses in conversation became longer and longer, filled with unspoken emotions. I noticed the way she tucked her hair behind her ear from time to time, the way her movements became deliberate and shy at the same time, the way she leaned forward slightly as she listened to me, the way her eyes glittered with interest. We sat on a small sofa, and I felt the warmth of her presence envelop me. Her perfume, a subtle blend of vanilla and something floral, was more intoxicating than wine. At some point, our hands touched, sending an electric current through me. I couldn't help myself and covered her palm with mine, savoring the softness of her skin. She didn't pull away, just squeezed my fingers lightly, her touch soothing and inviting. What happened next seemed surreal, like falling into a beautiful dream. Soft touches, tender kisses that said more than words ever could. The scent of vanilla and something subtly sweet emanated from her skin, a scent that will forever be etched in my memory. Her every movement was imbued with grace and sensuality, her passion tempered by a tenderness that left me unmoved. Margaret was an extraordinary woman, a perfect combination of strength and vulnerability, passion and restraint. After that evening, our meetings became regular. We saw each other not only in the library, but also outside. Sometimes I visited her at home, discovering new facets of her personality with each meeting. This relationship lasted almost a year of happiness, tenderness, and self-discovery. Margaret taught me to appreciate the beauty in the smallest details of life, to find joy in moments that otherwise might have gone unnoticed. But life doesn't stand still. As I neared graduation, the reality of the future loomed ahead. The army awaited me, a path that would take me far away from the world we had built together. We parted as beautifully as we had begun, with mutual understanding and respect. There were no dramatic goodbyes, just a quiet recognition that everything has its time. Margaret and I shared a bond that transcended the ordinary, a a chapter in my life that will forever remain in my heart.